Anna Werb is one of two new members of the District 191 School Board. It's her first time at being elected to office, and she joins us now to talk about what's next. Anna, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Mike.
Congratulations first on your election. And before we kind of really dig into the issues, and there's a lot of issues to talk about, I wanted to talk about the election because this is the first time you have run and the first time that you have won an elective office. That's a big step for somebody to take. What led you to do that?
Well, I've lived in Burnsville for about 13 years, and I have two elementary students enrolled at William Byrne Elementary, and I've just been becoming more involved with, the PTO, and just once you become more aware, I think, of how district decisions affect your students, and how all that plays out in your own neighborhood and in your own community. And then you begin to realize, how that impacts yourself, and how you want your own child's future to look in that district. And then when you start seeing and hearing things in the district that are concerning to you or that are impactful, that are going on in the world, and you start, wondering, what can I do to make an impact, to incite change? And I've always been a person that instead of just sitting back and complaining, I think about what would I do differently, or how can I make a difference and actually do something that might make a change in this community. And I have many resources and people I can play ideas off of at my employer. I worked at Blue Cross Blue Shield for nearly 24 years, and have just gained a lot of insight in being in that environment, and just really take to heart the things that I've learned, and feel like, if someone doesn't step up, why not be me? Why can't I do something to make a difference and really show my children that, if you want to see a change in this world, it starts with yourself.
Well, you've certainly got a long list of things here to work on that you could make a change on, or you could have an impact. I mean, I'm just going down the list here. District 191 is facing some really big challenges. You got a pandemic that sent kids home back to learn. You got 2 decades of declining enrollments and declining funding that kind of goes with it. And then layered over all of this is an increased awareness of racial inequities. That's a big laundry list and a big pile of things to do. Where are you going to dig in?
Well, I think, first and foremost, I need to understand my role as a board member, and I need to go in with open mind, and I have to learn from the other board members. I have to, I have to take in their knowledge and see how that plays into my skills as, someone that really does want to focus on equity, racial equity and health equity, and how can I balance that with the skills I bring to the table. I will have a lot of learning to do in my first year. This isn't something I have done before, but I am always, somebody that wants to learn how to do stuff. I dig in and I want to learn and I want to gain knowledge. And so, that's first and foremost, on the top things, is I have to learn this job. But secondly, when we're dealing with a pandemic and something that makes greater impacts to those who are BIPOC, Black, Indigenous people of color, that negatively affects them in something like a pandemic, it really deserves a focus, especially by a school board, in looking at how do we address the issues that are faced by them, and how do we make sure that they're still getting the tools, the resources, as we're looking at distance learning and health issues and all the strains that come with what we're all dealing with right now, and how this impacts our children emotionally and mentally, and not having the contact with friends. We have to look at all these things and make sure these are top priorities as a school board and addressing these needs and issues. And I do think it's a priority to develop a racial equity and inclusion or diversity committee or council. I believe that there's work that can be guided by a council, that's key to making sure that work is being done in the district to address all the needs of our students.
Yeah, I mean, I just went through that laundry list, and you've talked about how some of those things kind of interact. When you start talking about, racial inequities, and you start talking about distance learning, they do tend to multiply each other in terms of how much more difficult it becomes because of that. But is there an opportunity in the moment, because of where we are and what's going on, to do something now that people are talking about it?
I believe it is. It's an opportunity to step up and look at where we're not making connections in our community, where there's, I believe we have a good board, but we are always, in my dealings with, even in my job, there's always improvements that can be made. There's always areas where you can look and see, where can we do better? Where are we failing to meet achievement gaps? Where are we, myself in particular, I really feel like we need to reach out to different communities of color, communities of like the Somali community, where we have long been known to have communication gaps of not reaching certain student populations. And there's areas that we need to improve on so that we are not missing any opportunity to find where we may be lacking, especially during a pandemic, because it's so much more hurtful to our students, who are needing more attention now than they probably were when they were actually in school. So I think this is the time when you come together more to identify what committees can we create, what groups of our community members should we be reaching out to more. I would also like to lobby for like a racial equity director, or I can't think of the word I'm looking for right now, but it's somebody that leads that work within the district. It's like their job to make sure that we are following that path in the district, to make sure we're touching all those students that need to be touched.
Racial equity we talked about, and it's very much tied into health equity, I think.
Yeah.
Why don't you explain, when we talk about health equity, what does that mean to you, and then how does the school board have some influence on this?
So to me, health equity is tied into education, because if you look at social determinants of health, not having an education, not finishing high school, is a social determinant of health later in life. It leads to poor health. So, and this also ties into my viewpoints on a community school and why that is so crucial and important. And I think it should be, honestly, every school district's goal to be a community school, because it brings everyone in the community together, working towards healthy students, creating that model of looking at the whole student and making sure that all their needs are met so they can learn. It's like, you can't send a child to school hungry, otherwise how can they focus on learning? if they're thinking about wanting to eat something? How can you send an emotionally distressed child to school whose parents are, struggling because they need to find work and they don't have enough money financially? These are all stressors that are things going on in a child's life that can prevent them from being able to learn to their full potential. And all these things are about the health of a child, and you have to look at holistically how those things can improve a child's ability to learn. So when you bring in all these resources and put them actually inside the school, if you make that school a hub for where the community is supporting the student, and it's like, how can a child fail when they have the whole community behind them supporting their learning? So I see it as such a positive thing in a city, in a town, to have that kind of a resource, that I feel like it's the missing piece or the missing link in kind of the, societal way we look at having to educate our children. It should be an effort between our city, our community, our leaders to just want to put everything into our students because they are our future.
All of this that you're talking about is good intentions, but it takes effort and it also takes money to do this. And
Yes.
the school district has seen declining enrollments, which means fewer dollars coming from the state. Where is this, the school board going to find, or the school district going to find the revenue to do these types of things?
Yeah, so I know that's probably a top question. And, I've done my research. There are grants available. There's federal grants, there's state grants, there's money to be had out there. If you find the right partners that are willing to invest in something like this because they believe in its sustainability and its proven success, there will be people that are willing to put up the money, or even I think the grants alone are something that can put the backing behind what is needed to fund it. But essentially there's still a lot of the money you already have that is coming in that is budgeted in your school district. There's shifting of dollars, but in a sense there's some things that you could shift around based on if you're getting supports from outside the community that are coming into the school and utilizing office space inside the school. But then there's less dependency on the school district then to provide those services. If you're putting in a clinic, like a medical clinic inside the school building, or something where we're relying more on services outside the district, but then in partnership with the district to have those services in the school. So, there is, lots of work involved in this model that, to get it up and running, you have to hire a community school coordinator. And I'm, fully on board with exploring what it would take to, get this rolling, because, that is required. It's not going to be something you just, overnight you just create this community school model. There's other districts that have implemented this in Minnesota. The Education Minnesota supports this community school model. So it takes working with other people that have done it, other people that know how to get it up and running correctly and accurately, to enlist those people's help. So I think it's something that can be done if you find the right support system.
All right. We've been speaking with Anna Werb, who is one of the newly elected school board members of District 191. And again, congratulations on your election, and thank you for talking to us about what's next in 191.
Thank you.